Hello, thank you for coming to another SIRAS Bootcamp. Today we're going to be discussing our present levels and our progress reports, as it is November and the progress reports are due at every reporting period. To start our training, we're going to log into SIRAS. Notice that I'm on the training server. How I know this is it shows at the top, training server. So all of this information shared today is fictitious information. So it is a pretend name and a pretend IEP. So we're going to log into SIRAS. You will notice I'm on my training server homepage. In order to find my student, her name is Betty Rubble. I am going to type in her name into the search bar. So Betty. And you will notice in a minute, we have a couple choices for Betty's. I have found her name here. I will click on her name and you will be immediately taken to her MIS summary page. This is the student information page, their LEA identification, the student demographics, and then the providers, and the special education information. For this training, we are going to speak specifically on present levels. So I will be going on to her IEP. So in order to do so, I'm going to go to my student info and my IEP manager. So I'm clicking there. My Betty has just had an IEP. Her IEP is finalized, it's all finished. And so you will see this is how the finalized IEP looks. The parent has accepted the plan and we are moving forward with what has been offered. So I'm going to hover over our present levels of performance and discuss this particular page today. In the present levels, you will notice this is the current snapshot of how the student is functioning in the school setting. So it has many different categories and many different areas that describe who the student is. I like to think of the present level page as a page where if I did not know the student, I, the teacher, would be writing everything about the student emotionally and academically, how the student functions in a school setting, so that the reader who is learning about the student would be able to know how to work with the student. So lots and lots of important information should go into this page: student strengths, student weaknesses, and then of course assessment information as well. So this first section talks about the current assessments for the student. You will notice we have our SBAC, we have our CAW, we have our CAST, and we have our CAW once again. So the CAW meaning the alternative assessment test. The other two are the tests that are given to all general education students and special education students for that matter. You will notice each of them have categories. We have an English language arts, we have a math, and then we have a science. You will see here what has been selected is her overall results in the English language arts. She was in the foundational understanding. There are 3 different areas of growth indicated in each area: English, math, and science. So my student Betty was at that foundational understanding level. Furthering down on this page, you will see here the other assessment information, curriculum assessment, and other district assessment. So what goes here is honestly things such as transition assessments, maybe an additional assessment you're giving your student that will support learning. So these are all additional assessments, benchmark assessments, data that you can write in here to further build the knowledge of this particular student. So really keep in mind the next few sections are going to really focus in on student data, strengths and weaknesses, observations, and any pertinent information that someone would want to know about our student Betty. You'll notice furthering down, our last vision screening was a pass. Pass and fail are your choices. And A is one where maybe they were not available or they didn't take the test for some reason due to their IEP. But our student has passed her vision and she has passed her hearing as well. These are two areas very important to indicate because obviously it may promote some health services for our student if there was a fail. Our first section of our present levels, or we call it the PLOP, is our pre-academic, academic, and functional skills. So in this, it says include assessment scores if applicable. So what I like to do is include the most recent academic scores, and I've added those here. This is again pretend scores. This is not a real student. So I just added their standard score for each of the areas, reading, math, and writing. So these scores could be 2 years old because maybe you have not had a try in 2 years, but they should be updated at every try and remain there until the next triannual or the next assessment. So they should be updated whenever there is an assessment given, but they should remain there because it's really good information to know. So when you're looking at this, you say, wow, you know, her reading scores are very low in reading recall, sentence reading fluency, and then also in that spelling and passage comprehension. So you may look at that and say, those are areas of weakness. Those are areas where I may want to consider a goal or two. You may want to look further down and say, gosh, her high score is her letter word identification, that 84. So that's one of the highest scores she has. So she's good at identifying all her letters. So that may be something you want to write down in your narrative below in this pre-academic area. So you'll see here, the narrative below talks about who Betty is as an academic, pre-academic learner. So what can she do? What does she do well? And then where are the areas of worry or concern from those assessments and from those observations that you see in a classroom with Betty? So you will notice I have a reading area, I have a math area, and I have a writing area. These are the areas that are academic areas that reflect our assessment results and then would reflect goals. So the areas of weakness become the goals and the areas of strengths are celebrated in this area. So that is the pre-academic. On the next page, and you will see page 2, is the communication development area. So once again, I just put a few scores in there. For my speech and language therapists, you may have quite a few scores here from all the assessments that you have made. But again, this should be current. Current meaning 2 years old, if not sooner. And then of course, updated once again at every triannual for the student. Again, the areas of weakness are pointed out in this area, as well as the areas of strength. The areas of weakness become goals, and then the areas of strength are celebrated. Our fine and gross motor area is the area where we look at how the student moves about their day. We also look at how they move on a playground or in a PE class. And then we also look at how they handle their fine motor skills or their writing. So how they hold a pencil, how they hold a pair of scissors, how they color. So oftentimes our students may have adaptive PE support in this area. They may also have occupational therapy in this area. So again, I just put a placeholder here, adaptive PE results from 2020 assessment. That would go in this particular area. And then again, information regarding Betty needing pencil grips for writing, Betty loving to run, but not learning how to catch a ball and how to kick a ball with both hands. That learning experience may become a goal in the IEP. Furthering down our social emotional area, again, these results could be from a school psychologist who has tested our Betty in her abilities to cope in school, to have friendships, to handle the different transitions and anxieties that may occur in school. Many of these results are from rating scales from our parents, from our school psychologists, from our related services, from our case managers, from our general ed teachers that report out information that would be shared in this particular area. And again, we all know we do not have a lot of room to write in these boxes. Our boxes sadly do not expand. So we have to consider adding a page if need be for more room. There is no way to be able to expand these boxes in SIRAS at this time. So if you write a lot like I do and you need a second page, just add that page at the top and it'll allow you more space to write. So here, I just like to indicate a lot of behavioral information, how the student interacts with others, how the student handles transition, and then any other information that is related to behavior and social emotional information. If your student is on a behavior intervention plan, that might be a good thing to indicate here in this section. And you might want to talk about just some small bullet statements on what that plan entails. Obviously, our behavior intervention plans are a separate form. And so you don't necessarily have to go into detail because you're using that form. But maybe something along the lines of behavior intervention plan written for in-class behavior or on playground behavior or whatnot. So that is the social emotional area of this form. As we're scrolling down, our next area is vocational. So we often get the question, I have a very young student. They're not looking at a job yet. Well, they do have a job, and their job is to come to school and to be a productive member of the classroom. So their job may be getting paperwork from home to school. Their job may be to put their things away at the end of the day and clean up their area. Maybe keep their desks tidy, maybe follow directions, maybe write in their planner homework that may have to come to and from home. So you can see here, this is just a little example of a vocational, some vocational input from my Betty. Again, that she's able to put her supplies away. She has a tidy cubby. When it comes to home and school communication, she always presents the teacher with her communication log. The communication from home to school is great. Betty really takes pride in sharing information from her mom to the teacher and then from the teacher to her mom. So vocationally, she's doing actually very well. This area brings in a lot of executive functioning skills. and the work that could be done around those areas as well. The next section is our adaptive daily living skills. So this ties in a lot of personal care, care for yourself, care for others around you. So I like to think of daily living once again as being able to handle those executive functioning skills, such as cleaning up after yourself, such as adjusting to changes in schedules, such as adjusting to substitute teachers, knowing how to transition from one activity to the next, or from one class to the next for that matter. So you can see here, she may need a little bit of help with something like a fire drill. That might set her off. Why would we write something like that in this IEP? Well, I, as a case manager new to Betty, would love to know that, because often we have a fire drill. And if I could remind Betty, hey, we're going to hear a loud siren in a minute, Betty, or we're going to have a fire drill today. Be prepared. Here's what you can do when you hear that sound. And if I were to front load her with that information, and if I were to know that about Betty, I could take care of her needs and could help her take care of her needs as well. So a student I had once had a fear of fire drills, and we did a lot of front loading before the drill so that the student didn't have an adverse reaction to that really loud alarm. So this particular adaptive daily living is important. It also encompasses hygiene. It could encompass changing clothes, working with maybe changing for a PE class, working with a lock in a locker room situation, those types of skills. So very important to indicate that some of our students don't have any needs in that area. They may not have any problems with daily living skills. And so if that were the case, then you would just write no concerns at this time. So that would be something that you would write if there was no concerns. The final area of our document is our general health. The general health is super, super important for many of our students. You will see here that Betty has a nut allergy. So very, very, very important to note that when serving when doing activities in the classroom around food. She also takes Ritalin for focusing. So how important would that be for a teacher to know that? Because if there was a day where Betty came to school and appeared unfocused and unable to attain herself to tasks, it would be good for me to know, gosh, Betty might not have taken her medication that day, and I need to circle back with the family and find out what's going on. So very important to write details here as to if there's any medications taken, any allergies, any worries about seizures or epilepsy. And then also, if our students are on a health plan, that information can be documented here as well. Obviously, our health plans may need to be a separate attachment because some of them tend to be quite lengthy. And so you may want to have a separate attachment. You may have your own template. But again, if you use this form, you can always add a page if you need more space. If you are adding a page, please at the top, put the little header such as general health or social emotional or adaptive living, whatever it is, on the new page, just as a marker so that whoever is reading that present levels knows it came from this original page. Okay, I'm going to check my notes for a minute. Okay. So now we're going to move on to Betty's progress report. So there are, so in order to get out of this section, I'm going to return to my forms manager. And then I am going to actually go into her progress reports. So there are two ways to activate a progress report, and there's many times where we may want to document a progress report. So the suggested time for every district is to create a progress report around the reporting time. So you would want to look at, when are you sending out report cards? Most schools do it 2 to 3 times a year. And that progress report should either accompany or follow the report card of the school. So as a case manager, I oftentimes created the progress report right around that time of that reporting period. And then I would send it out in a separate envelope to the family, updating them on the progress on my students' goals. So there are 2 places to find the progress reports on this student. So the first place I'm going to take you is under the student info. You will notice the data collection and progress. So I scroll down and you will see it says progress report to the right on this tab. So this is the first one. This allows you to enter a progress report for this student only. Now you can also access bulk reports for all your students on your caseload in a different way. So in order to do that, you're going to go to reporting, bulk progress reports, and you would click there. And then it's going to allow you to look at the students on your caseload. Currently, I have 2. And so I may check these 2 boxes to report on both of those students' goals. So that is the way to do bulk progress reports. So for this student, I'm going to go to just hers. So I'm going to go back to my data collection and progress and go to that progress report. So you will notice here I have some reports already finished. So this is a listing of all of her current goals. You will see here the progress sent dates are already predetermined into my grading periods. Now, can you change those? Yes, you can. You may have a clerk in your district who has already determined the grading periods, maybe not. So for me, I added in the grading period of today, actually yesterday, 2 days ago, 2 days ago. And then again, one more time mid-year, and then one more time at the end of the year. And then right before the next annual IEP. Don't forget, you want to do final progress on those goals right before the annual IEP or the tri-annual IEP. You'll notice also at the top, the send progress report link. So this link allows you to send the finished progress reports to the family to view. And then we also have the English and Spanish option. Remember, anything you type into SIRAS is not translated. If you use the drop downs and the information that is already programmed into SIRAS, that is translatable through the system. So that can be put into Spanish. But anything you type into SIRAS is not translatable in the SIRAS system. You would have to have a human being interpret that and translate it on the form itself. So for this, you will see here, I have her goals. I have 4 goals: social, emotional, communication, reading, and math. You will probably have more, but I just did, again, a fake IEP on these goals. And you will see here I have built in 1, 2, 3 progress reports for this particular grading time. So in order to create a progress report for her math goal, which I have not done yet, I'm going to add the progress report. You will notice a field opens up. We have something we call the red boxes of death, which are the areas that we need to complete. So thankfully, we love the bright red because it tells us, please get it done. And then you will notice at the top, her goal that I'm writing about here in this progress. So her goal, she will highlight each step of in a different color and complete each step of a math problem with 80% accuracy and 4 out of 5 trials as measured by teacher-made test. So the first area you will see is the accuracy area. You will notice to the left, if I hover over the question mark, it gives me directions as to how to fill out this red box. So it says, enter the current accuracy the student has achieved. The accuracy must be expressed in the same terms as used in the goal or benchmarks. So the number of times, and that number of times was 4 out of 5 in my goal. And then the errors, the prompts, and the percentage. So this is a report of how the student is performing at this time. So how are they performing? They've been given that teacher-made test. How are they doing? So for this one, you will see my little cursor is ready to go. So I'm going to put in some information here. So where are they functioning at in accuracy? So for my student, if they're already at 80% accuracy, that goal is done. That goal is done, and that would constitute meeting with the family and saying, hey, we did a great job. Our student has met this goal, and maybe we need to look at another goal for next steps. But most of the time, our students have not met that 80% accuracy right away. And maybe they're only at, and I'm going to say 40% accuracy. And how do I know that? Because I have my teacher-made tests. So 40% accuracy, what is my consistency? So once again, I'm not sure how to write consistency. I'm going to look at that question mark again, and it says enter the current level of consistency that the student is able to achieve in the reported level of accuracy. So I said 40%. So I'm looking at how many trials and how many trials. So right now she's at 40%, and maybe I'm going to say 3 trials a week, 3 trials. And you'll see there as I'm hovering, it talks about weeks and observations. So again, this area is how the level of accuracy is demonstrated. So I'm going to say 3 trials. Oops, 3 trials per week. Okay. The next section, you'll notice there is a little down caret. And so if I click that, it shows me several options for comments. Now, if you do not like the comments that are there, you can add your own comments in. So the comments here are attain the goal, attain the objective. Maybe there's an objective. Behavior interferes with learning. That's a big one. Maybe the student is just shutting down with this goal. Goal is exceeded. Maybe they've exceeded that 80% and they've met that goal. Goal discontinued on date because of, so that maybe the goal is discontinued today because maybe the student had some sort of emergency where they could not continue that goal. Made good progress but did not reach the goal. Making good progress, making great progress, making steady progress. You can see these are all options. And then continuing, skill recently introduced, student absences affected progress. That one is something we see a lot, especially as we are working with bringing our students back to school after this absence of being in person. So for this one, I'm going to write a hybrid. And so I like that my student is making progress towards the goal, but her absences are affecting that progress. So obviously I cannot choose two of them. So I'm going to type it in. So I'm going to say student making progress when at school, absences affecting progress. Okay. So I'm going to say frequent absences. All right. So you'll notice after I click out of that, it updates it and it has it right here. That red box is gone. Additionally, if you were creating a progress report in Spanish, whatever Spanish dropdown you chose here would be indicated here in Spanish if you checked that Spanish box. Once all of these fields are completed, you click complete. And you will notice my progress report has been organized right here. If I need to edit any of that, I can go next door right here and edit that, and it'll bring me back to that box where I can make any adjustments needed. If you are doing bulk progress reports, you will see the students that you selected's goals all lined up, and you can report on all of those goals at the same time. And then see them all on each page. Additionally, I'd like to call your attention over to the overall comments area. So in this overall comments area, this is something that can be extra information that you want to put in this progress report. So you'll notice I put down some behavioral information that may not necessarily be tied to a goal, but it's something that I want the family to know about. And I just wanted to go on a little bit more about how Betty is doing in school. So I wrote a little comment there. I made sure I had the date there so that the parent knows it's coming from this progress report. So this area is printable and will also be attached to those progress areas as you go on and send those out. Finally, looking at the far right side, you will notice the final progress goal met. So this is an important area. If this was the final progress report for the IEP, so if this was that August 8th date, you would create that progress report and really think about, did you meet that goal? If you did, then you would check yes. And then you would be saving that, and that would allow data showing that the goals you created were met and achieved. Sometimes it's very hard to meet our goals because of various reasons. And maybe we write goals that are too lofty for the student. They're too hard for the student to achieve. Sometimes our students have health issues or things that occur in their lives that cause them to not be able to make the gains that we hoped for when we wrote the goals. And so it's really important that in that comment section here and in that comment section here, you explain why maybe those goals aren't being met. You let the team know and the parent know why that's not being met. All right. You'll see here on the right side, and I'm going to click there, but there is nothing archived yet. There will be archived progress reports here once those progress reports are officially locked in and saved. And then there will also be links here where you may have sent those progress reports to the family. And so you will see those links there if you have done that. In my case, I have not sent them to our family because this is a fake student. Again, a few things to think about. The information printed in the overall comments box. Once again, this overall comments box can just accompany that saved progress report. And then really think about various optional things such as how to work through printing these reports. So you can see here, if I say print, it's missing a grading period. So I might want to call it first trimester. And then this is how our progress report is going to look. All finished. I will say print. And you will see to the right is what has been indicated. And then my comments are below it. So that's what it looks like in a printed form. In order to print, sometimes you have to turn off your pop-up blockers before printing. And there is a help sheet in the supports section of SIRAS that helps you do that. Sometimes that's a barrier in printing these progress reports. So just keep an eye on that. Look for the turn off pop-up blockers help sheet. And that's actually in the tools, the support, and the support documents here. So again, for multiple students, you're going to select your students that you want to report on by checking next to their name, as I shared with you earlier. And then you're going to view all of the goals at once and then report on each of those goals. That is the end of our training today. These documents are in our, these help sheets to get you through how to do this. And a lot of the information I have shared today is in this tools, support documents. And you will notice all of these help sheets that provide information on bulk progress reports, developing progress reports, and then many, many, many tutorials on how to maneuver through SIRAS. So you will see our user manual, the how-to videos, training videos, all sorts of helpful links and support items here. All you need to do is click on that help sheet. It pulls it up into a PDF, and you can print it by downloading it and have it next to you when you're writing the first progress report. You will notice it also gives you information with visuals on how to go step by step, just as I shared with you today on how to write that progress report. So I want to thank you for coming today. My name is Jennifer Connolly. I am the coordinator of SELPA, and I am pleased to have you with us. Please reach out to me if you have any questions at jconnolly, CONNOLLY at SBCSELPA.org. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.